I am Autumn Pippenburg, founder and president of the Art of Giving Foundation, a 501c3 right here in Chicago, Illinois. We are hyper-focused on ensuring that art remains a pillar in our educational system. Some of our programs include a big CPS supply drive for our teachers, stocking the classrooms with art and educational supplies for the year. We also do beautification projects in our schools, such as mural installations, and we provide art therapy classes and art clubs and art classes within the school, after school, and for camps. You are watching The Art of Giving, a guide to nonprofit success. And today's episode is going to focus on the importance of creating a strong mission and vision statement for your nonprofit. This show is going to teach you everything you need to know about launching a successful nonprofit in Illinois. So we are super excited to get started, and we have a special guest today. We have Shiloh Capone, the Executive Director for Street Samaritans. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here today.
Awesome. We're happy to have you because we know you're an expert at this stuff, so happy to learn from you. I know I'm happy to learn from you as well. So let's kick this off with just the simplest form of the question of what is the difference between a mission statement and a vision statement for a nonprofit?
Yeah, great question. Always good to start with the basics. So a mission statement and a vision statement are both really important foundational pillars for a nonprofit organization. A mission statement is going to be the core purpose and the focus of your organization, while a vision statement is going to be more future orientated. So think of this through the lens of a mission statement would be the what and the how, where the vision statement is the why. So when we're articulating our vision, we're thinking about how the world is going to be different because we existed. And our mission is supporting that by showing how we're going to bring about that envisioned reality.
Okay, so bigger picture versus more day-to-day.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and how does this play a role in the strategic planning for a nonprofit moving forward?
Yeah, so a strong mission and vision statement are really going to inform decision making, kind of engage the community and your key stakeholders, and then serve as a strategic framework. So for us, we look at our vision statement as the envisioned future we want to have for our community. So for Street Samaritans, it's that we will become irrelevant. Our hope is that we can all be unemployed, we have no job security, we're done, we don't need to exist anymore, right? And so then what we need to do to make a strategic plan is to look at that final vision that we want to accomplish, a Chicago without homelessness, where no homeless services are needed, and we backcast from there. So what steps need to be taken to eliminate and eradicate homelessness in our community? And that forms our strategic planning process in the long term.
Okay. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about Street Samaritans while we're at it, so that our viewers understand what exactly it is that you all do.
Yeah, hypothetically, that would have been great to start with, so apologies.
No, that's okay. I should have asked.
Yeah, great. So Street Samaritans is a 501c3 nonprofit organization here in Chicago dedicated to street outreach and case management for people experiencing unsheltered homelessness in our community. So our mission is to intervene in the cycles of homelessness and poverty by connecting people to solutions and walking with them on their journey. And as I mentioned, our vision is that Street Samaritans will become irrelevant.
Okay, all right. Well, that's wonderful work that you're all doing. Thank you for that. So let's talk about, in regards to the mission and vision statement, how that affects your long-term projects with your organization as well as your day-to-day. And I know you touched on this a little bit, but we're going to circle back because I think this is so important to really embody this with all of the work that you do. So not just looking at that bigger goal as far as the vision is concerned, but you mentioned, your day-to-day processes. So what does that look like for your entire team, for you to have this involved in your day-to-day operations?
Yeah, those are both really big questions, so I'm going to separate them. I'll start with the day-to-day. So I think one of the most important things that as nonprofit leaders we need to be cognizant of is how our mission and vision are embodied in our internal processes and policies. So one of the things that is really important to us is about salaries and wages. So if our mission is to intervene in the cycles of homelessness and poverty, but we're paying our staff poverty wages, we're not fulfilling our mission. And we're actually perpetuating poverty because the people doing this work are on the brink of becoming their own clients. And I know that the nonprofit sector is notoriously underpaid, but for us to pay lower wages is mission drift. And so we absolutely refuse to do it. And it means that we are stunted in some of our growth because of our commitment to the mission. So sometimes that commitment to your mission and vision can change the course of how your organization grows and develops. So if we paid minimum wage, we could have twice the employees, but we've elected not to do that because it wouldn't be true to who we are and our values. Yeah. So there are many ways that your mission and vision can be embedded into the ethos and the processes of your organization. Right. So as I was hearing you share about Art of Giving, I'm wondering maybe you're offering art therapy to your staff members.
Absolutely.
Or maybe your volunteers are having opportunities to participate in the mural. So these values that you're hyper-fixated on, the mission you're hyper-fixated on, you extend those to the people doing the work with you as well.
Absolutely, and it extends to the artists that we work with as well, our local Chicago artists. Anytime we're asking them to be involved in a project, they're being paid. Otherwise, we wouldn't be staying true to our mission, keeping that full circle of art in our educational system. What's the point of that if you can't grow up to be a professional artist that gets paid for what you want to do?
Right.
So I totally am right there with you, and I love that. So speaking of that, obviously you're embodying this, through and through, and everyone on your staff is. How do you think that affects the trust and relationships that you have with your stakeholders, your donors, your volunteers, your committees and boards?
Yeah, they're sort of separate, so I'll break these out a little bit. So the first thing I would say is that the best way to communicate your mission and vision is not to post it in your office, have it on your website. Right. It is to embody it and to act it. So don't say it, show it. And every stakeholder involved in Street Samaritans knows what our mission, vision, and values are, not because we've told them, but because we have shown them, because we continuously show up in that way. So I think the most important thing is to remember that these mission and vision statements are meaningless without the actions to support it. But I also think having a well-articulated mission and vision statement lends your organization credibility with large funders. So Street Samaritans started in 2017, and we have federal funding 5 years down the road, within 5 years of our organization. And for anybody involved in grants, federal funding is hard to get.
It's very hard to get. And we're going to talk about that in a couple episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would just say that federal funding is like a child where you're very excited and it's new and shiny, and then a few years in, you're like, this is so much work and I can't give it back. So for new people starting out who's like, I want federal funding, like maybe sit on that one for a little bit. But my point in saying this is having a clearly articulated mission and vision statement positioned us to be able to approach and receive federal funding from more reputable funders that have more stringent layers of requirements on it.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a lot to take in, and we'll talk more about that later. But I wanted to talk a little bit about something I know that with Art of Giving we personally went through after being established for about 2 or 3 years. And those are the challenges and adaptations that you have to endure when you're considering maybe shifting your mission or your vision. And we just want to throw this out there that it's perfectly normal for this to happen. In fact, it's actually needed as part of your growth process. So how did Street Samaritans adapt? And I'm sure at some point you probably had to rewrite your mission and vision. How did that all go down? Yeah,
absolutely. So the first thing that I would say to like any nonprofit leader is get out of the mindset that you have all the answers. The people who know how to solve a problem are the ones experiencing it. And I think often we start nonprofits because we have an idea of how we can address this problem. But it's really important for us to set our ideas to the side and make space for the people experiencing the problems we're setting out to solve to have input and share their insight and perspectives on how to address those.
Right.
And so when we are coming in, we often have a mission and vision, because you have to do that for your legal paperwork, which I know you'll go over in a separate one. But you might start to really tune in and listen as you're doing this work and realize, you know what, that's actually not what the community wants. That's not what the community needs.
Right.
And so when we redid our mission and vision about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
And that happened as a result of just a formalization of the organization. We'd been very grassroots. We were volunteer-led. And so as we were bringing staff members on, as we were kind of formalizing a lot of processes and policies, one of the things we did was recognize a need to at least re-examine. So we didn't set out thinking we're going to redesign our mission and vision, but we were open to doing that. So the first thing we did is talk to people experiencing unsheltered homelessness.
Okay.
We asked them what they wanted, what they needed, what services were available, what services they struggled to access. Then the second thing we did was a landscape analysis. So I looked at every organization doing anything in homeless services or adjacent to homeless services in the city of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that helps you kind of see the internal and external factors that might influence your ability to succeed.
Right.
And by combining those three things, we decided it was time for us to have a new mission and vision statement that was responsive to the needs of the people we served and were better articulated to both serve us now, but also future-proof us in the future. So to your point, Autumn, I think it's really important for people to know that a mission and vision statement, you're not in marriage to them.
Right.
You can divorce them at any time. And I would say there are two main times that you should consider changing your mission and vision statement. So the first one is if your organization is going through a big transition. So that could be maybe your original vision was accomplished, or maybe the circumstances that you're operating in have changed. So maybe CPS starts really well funding art programs in schools, and you don't need to do that anymore. A dream come true, right? So those are times in which you should sit down, and again, it doesn't have to be changing, but at least to open that conversation and start having it with your key stakeholders.
Yeah.
And the second time I'd recommend investigating changing your mission and vision would be if your key stakeholders don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So
right.
if the people around you that you serve, that are on your board, your volunteers, your staff, they don't know your mission and vision, it's either because it's really terribly articulated and should be re-examined, or it might be that it's not reflective of what you're actually doing.
Right.
And I think mission drift gets a bad rap sometimes of like, oh, you're drifting from your mission. But sometimes we drift because we're adapting and responding to the needs of our community, as we absolutely should.
Absolutely.
So it's not a bad thing, but it might be, maybe we should re-examine our mission and vision statements so that they align with the activities that we know our community needs.
Right.
Or it could be that your action should be reevaluated.
Or your actions.
But either way, that's an opportunity for investigation and reflection for your organization.
Okay. Well, it's really good to know that it's perfectly normal to go through those stages. I remember going through those stages myself and thinking, oh no, what have I done? I'm changing everything around, But actually the reason we did it was because I felt no one really understood what it was that we did.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't being articulated correctly, and it was just really hard to explain. It was like, this is what we do, and if you can't just say something in a sentence, of what you do, then it's time to reevaluate. So how do you measure the effectiveness of your mission and vision statements?
So, good question. You did tell me you were going to ask me this ahead of time, and my brain is blanking out now. I think that the mission and vision statements can be evaluated first and foremost on whether or not we're embodying it, and whether or not the people involved in our organization are aware of and responding to them. if they feel our actions and activities are progressing us towards a future without homelessness, and whether or not we are remaining true to our values and we're really making actionable what it means to intervene in homelessness and poverty.
So it sounds like you've kind of, you started on the back end and went the other way, right? It's like you started on the ground and then kind of figured it out, like this is what's working and what's not.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say goals, vision, and mission are really a loop.
Okay.
So for Street Samaritans, we started with a vision for what the future was going to be.
Okay.
And then because your mission is that concise, action-oriented purpose of how you're accomplishing your vision, we then created the mission statement.
Okay.
And then from there, we were able to backcast to say, what steps need to be taken to move us towards this envisioned future? And because the mission was informed by what we wanted to see and what we believed would bring about that change, that kind of helps us measure our effectiveness. We also recognize, especially with something like homelessness, there are many factors that influence homelessness in our communities. So we are constantly kind of understanding what's within our capacity to control and what might be external to us, but that we may need to adapt and create new, programs or initiatives to respond to.
Right. Always adapting. I feel like in this industry, always adapting. So what advice would you give to other nonprofit leaders, whether they're just getting started or thinking about getting started or have been doing this for a few years? What advice would you give them on the importance of developing this really strong mission and vision statement for the organization?
Yeah, so I've been in the nonprofit sector for about a decade now.
Okay.
And I have worked for amazing organizations that really embody their mission. I have also worked for organizations that I sometimes suspect is actually reinforcing the inequalities that our mission says we're out to solve. So I've been at both. And I would say that when you have clarity of purpose, that uniting banner that not only your staff can get behind, but the community can get behind, your funders can get behind, that is going to be how you actually drive social change. Nothing happens in a silo. No one organization can change the world or bring about this envisioned future. It's about bringing people together with that unified purpose. And that's what a compelling mission and vision statement can do. I also think that sometimes we can narrow our focus a little bit. So we get too mission-centric and not enough vision-centric, and it really is a balance of those two, because we sometimes are so in service to helping people cope that we forget to start to address those underlying structural factors that produce the need for our services in the first place. And we create job security for ourselves, which again is the antithesis of what Street Samaritans is attempting to address. So I think, and it's very normal, we want to respond to the people in need in front of us, but we also need to take a step back and understand why we have a never-ending flow of clients into our services. So if we are enrolling more people into our programs each year, we shouldn't be celebrating that as a success. We may need to stop and think about, are we actually failing to achieve our vision? We may very well be doing our mission, but are we failing to achieve our vision? And so having strong both mission and vision statements, and to hold those in balance with one another and in your head at all times, so that you can both get into the weeds, but also see the big picture.
Bigger picture,
It's imperative to the success to actually addressing the problems that we create nonprofits to solve.
Well, if someone wants to get involved with Street Samaritans, either on a volunteer level or even joining like an associate board, how would they find you?
Yeah, so you can go to our website at www.streetsamaritans.org. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at street.samaritans.
Awesome. So just one more question for you, because you're just so interesting to talk to. It's more of like a personal insight question. What personal values have shaped your experience, or I should say your understanding of the importance of these strong statements? Like, what have you gone through personally with Street Samaritans or with some of these other organizations where it was an aha moment of, this is why this is so important?
So we have a policy at Street Samaritans that everybody, regardless of where you are in the organizational chart, has to spend at least 2 hours a week in direct service. So I have never asked my team to do anything I haven't personally done and don't regularly do. And so our mission and vision are not things that were created in a boardroom or in an office or behind a computer screen. They were created and informed by the people I have met living unsheltered in the streets of Chicago who have changed my life, who have touched my life, changed my perspective, who I've had the honor and the privilege of holding their stories. And so I think our role as leaders is to hear people's struggles and challenges, their hopes, their dreams, their strengths, to see the gaps in our system, and to take all of those and convene them to create a vehicle for social change. And when I think about the purpose of a mission and vision, why I'm so passionate about it, it is not because I want Street Samaritans to exist forever or for our brand identity or clout. It is because of the mother of 5 I've met living in abandoned buildings, escaping domestic violence, the elderly man on kidney dialysis living on Lower Wacker, the LGBTQ youth whose family didn't accept them that is living in a tent in Humboldt Park. It is the child leaving foster care. It is the literally thousands of people who I've sat with, and they deserve a future without homelessness. I think we all do.
Yeah, we all do, especially in America, of all places.
There is absolutely no
There's
reason.
no excuse at this point. Wow, I mean, I've known the founder, Neil, for a long time, and he got started with his organization a couple years before Art of Giving got started, and I've learned so much from him, and even just going and helping, volunteer a couple times changed my life. So I know that, what you're doing is very important, and if anything, it helps empower you to do more. You see homeless people on the streets in Chicago all the time, every day, just about everywhere you go. It doesn't matter what part of the city. And so it's affecting not only them, but it's affecting all of us. And I think it's really important that we all get involved. So do you have any events coming up that you'd like to plug?
So we have our Open Hearts Gala, which is our largest fundraising event of the year, and that will be taking place on September 12th. Early bird tickets are on sale now, so go buy them.
At the website?
Yes, yes. And then we also have a monthly outreach drive where we bring community members in to meet and service people experiencing homelessness in our community. So to your point, the experience of outreach can change your life. And I think that's because the barrier to empathy is ignorance. And I don't mean that as in like people are ignorant, but if you have never had a conversation with someone experiencing homelessness, it can sometimes be hard to see yourself in them and to really challenge some of those stereotypes and biases that frankly our media perpetuates about people living unsheltered in our community. So we do that every month. You can check out our social media to see when the next one is. But we would love to have people come and join. And if you've never talked to your unhoused neighbors, it's a great time to. On our community homelessness needs assessment, one of the questions we ask is, what could the average person do to help you exit homelessness? And every single responded with some variation of be kind. Say hello to me, ask me my name. I want to be treated like a human being.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't take much to change the world, but it does take a willingness to act and be different.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking to us about Street Samaritans, your mission and vision, and the importance of having a strong mission and vision statement. I hope it's helped some of our nonprofit leaders in guiding them into the direction that they need to go. We also have an event for Art of Giving coming up, June 12th. We have a mixer at the Godfrey Hotel. It's from 6 to 9 p.m. You can check it out on our website, which is on the screen below. Thank you so much for watching The Art of Giving, a guide to nonprofit success. On our next episode, we are going to be talking about the legal and regulatory requirements of running a 501c3. Go IRS. So until next time, let's let art ignite change and let's let our hearts lead our way. Thank you.
Thank you.